Hello there. Today I'm taking a look at a Cotes du Rhone, a white Cotes du Rhone. This is from a producer, Mourredon, and Château Mont-Redon are very well known as possibly the largest producer of Châteauneuf-du-Pape. Certainly they have a very large area of vineyards, over 186 hectares of them, and an old historic family-owned winery right at the heart of Châteauneuf-du-Pape. Château Mont-Redon, established in the 1920s, so with 100 years of history, actually on a site where the growing of vines goes back to 1344. So they have some of the oldest vineyard sites in Châteauneuf-du-Pape and in the Rhone region. Now, you'll have noticed that this wine is not actually labelled as Château Mont-Redon because this isn't from their own vineyards. This is Reserve Mourredon, and this is from the 2023 vintage. So yes, this is the Fabre-Abeille family, Pierre Fabre, the winemaker here, using their 100 years of experience, using their facilities, using their know-how to select, age, blend, bottle and market wines from vineyards owned by other growers. So how would you know this isn't an estate wine? Well, I suppose thinking about it, the obvious thing is the fact that it doesn't say Château Mont-Redon on the label, but one doesn't necessarily make that connection. On the back label, however, you see the note that we have selected, aged and bottled this wine. So there's no reference to having made it. It also says on the back label, bottled by the family Abeille Fabre, the owners here. If it was from their own vineyards, it would have said made and bottled. So it's almost that you're looking for what's not being said here. The notes I've got don't give detailed reference to the terroir, because I presume the wines that go into this blend have come from a number of sites. They note the fact that the different soil types are predominantly sandy or that they're covered in pebbles. Now I'm assuming that would mean clay soils covered in pebbles. So you'll have lighter wines coming off the better draining sandy soils and richer wines coming off the heavier clay soils. The climate is again described in quite broad but quite useful terms to think about as hot, dry summers with occasional storms and with the continuing influence of the mistral, the wind blowing, that actually dries the vines out if there's humidity and helps protect against fungal infection. They note that the harvest is done primarily on tasting. So yes, you can analyse the acidities, the sugars in the grapes, but actually the taste is important as well, so that's a priority here. The notes, however, don't mention whether this is machine harvested or hand harvested, so it's highly possible that there may be a combination of both going on in the wine. Whole bunch pressing is referenced, so you should get some good clean juice, and fermentation at low temperature, so presumably in stainless steel tanks, helping to preserve the freshness, the perfumes in the wine by slowing down the temperature of fermentation and stopping the CO2 that's being given off in the ferment from stripping the aromas, as would happen if that was released too vigorously, too quickly. Again, to maintain freshness, they note that the malolactic conversion is blocked, so trying to keep all the acidity possible in this, so hopefully there's a crisp edge that would add some liveliness to it. The wine ages in tank on its fine lees for a few months and gets bottled in the February following vintage. The final blend on this is 89% of Viognier with 7% of Grenache Blanc and the remaining 4% being one of the local varieties, Roussin. So I'm actually quite impressed by the amount of Viognier in that blend. I sometimes find that Cotes du Rhone can be a little bit heavy and rounded. The Viognier I'm expecting to be a bit more lifted and to have more perfumed fruit than I'd normally expect from a Cotes du Rhone Blanc. They suggest the wine should age for up to 2 years, and so let's have a look at it and see what we make of it, shall we? The colour is very pale. That's a pale greenish yellow. Swirling it, it's just starting to create some tears there. The wine is labelled as having 13.5% alcohol, so I'd expect a reasonable viscosity. Yes, there are some tears forming there now. So let's see what we make of the aromas, shall we? The aromas are vibrant, lifted, starting off with peachy notes, but there are touches of ripeness. There are also touches of apple and perhaps of lime, maybe lime blossom. There's floral notes, there's a delicacy to the perfume. It's quite lovely. But yes, coming back to that sort of underlying core of ripe peach, ripe nectarine, possibly even ripe apricot. So let's taste. The palate dry. There's a green apple crispness at the front of the mouth, but then across the back palate where the alcohol's giving a bit more warmth, there's a richness, a ripeness. There's a slightly oily, maybe slightly unctuous, ripe stone fruit. It's ripe apricot, it's ripe nectarine. It's giving off a warmth. There's almost a sort of a slight gingery spice in there as well, which is giving those slightly unctuous notes and a richness at the finish. It doesn't feel like a completely balanced finish to me. I feel that to give that extra richness, maybe the grapes have been harvested just that little bit overripe. Overlooking that, it's a very enjoyable drink. It's got some lovely aromas, it's got some lovely freshness. The finish, as I say, that just finishes that a little bit hot and a little bit bitter. It's worth remembering this is not a hugely expensive wine, so I will leave a link in the notes below to the Wine Searcher webpage for this vintage of this wine, so you can see if it's available in your market and at what price. So having said that, our Wine Searcher aggregated critics score for this wine is 87 out of 100. I think that's a reasonably fair score. In the context that this is a good value for money wine, I think the wine gives some really good Viognier character. And if you're looking for a fairly rich, medium-bodied wine with some quite forward fruit expression, I think this could be a very good option. So I hope you've enjoyed the tasting. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have, do please press the like button. If you'd like to watch more of these videos, it would be fantastic if you consider signing up and subscribing to our YouTube channel, and that way you can set yourself an alert and be notified every time we publish a new tasting. If you have any comments that you'd like to make, please pop those in the notes below. That would be fantastic to find out what you think about the wines, the tastings, or anything else we're talking about. If you have any friends you think might like to watch the video, please feel free to pass it on to them. It would be fantastic to have your endorsement of what we're doing in that way. Hopefully you'll be able to join us for another tasting in the very near future. So until then, bye for now.